Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Hey, y'all. All righty. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Monday, happy Tuesday, happy Sunday, happy whatever day it is that you are tuning in. I am so excited, even though it is 9:30 at night. I had somewhat of a full day, but I'm excited to be here with y'all tonight. I must say that. I'm really, really grateful, very excited to do what it is that God has called for me to do. For those of you all who do not know me, my name is Dr. JaNee Mobley. I'm affectionately known as Dr. JaNee, and I help women take their purpose and start and build a business all while they're working their full-time job, and also teaching them to overcome mindsets, thoughts, and beliefs that prevent them from profit, progress, and prosperity. Why is mindset so essential to everything? Well, here's the thing: our beliefs drive and dictate the actions that we take or the actions that we don't take. And those actions or those lack of actions and activities are what lead to whatever results or fruit that are the evidence of the root of our beliefs. That alone is alive within itself. But we're going to talk tonight. If you all haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you text this link, hit the, I think it's the share button. Yeah, the share button on your screen. And text this to about 2 or 3 people. For those of you all who are new and have never joined me, whether even as for Transformational Mondays or just being here with me live, I want you to put a 1 in the comments. And if you are a returner, this is not your first time, guess what? Welcome back. I am so glad that you are here. I'm always so grateful for those of you all who return. I'm grateful for those of you all who are new, but I understand this is that our time is one of our most valuable assets. It can work for us. Hi, Ryan. It can work for us or it can work against us, right? And it all depends on how we use our time. How do we use our time? So tonight I want to talk to you all. I want you all, one, to tell me where you all are tuning in live from, or if you're watching this on replay, where are you watching? Feel like you have an idea on the inside of you. You have something to contribute to this world, but you wonder whether you are qualified to teach it, whether you're qualified to execute it, whether you have the knowledge and the ability to share it with the world, right? So, and here's the thing: the part of what I do in my business in helping my clients in overcoming the mindsets that will prevent profit, progress, and purpose, prosperity, is all mindset, right? Hi, Colin. It's all mindset. I want you to understand that the position and the way of your thinking or the current place of your thought process is what will determine the action steps that you make or the action steps that you don't make. It determines whether you see the results that you desire to see, and it determines whether you are going to accomplish the things that you desire. So, one of the reasons why I'm always talking about mindset, whether it's fear, lack of confidence, feeling unqualified, your thoughts, because all of that contributes whether you're going to take the necessary action steps that are going to lead to the results that you desire or not, right? So tonight I want to talk to you all, and I want to talk to the person who feels unqualified. I want to talk to the person who feels unqualified for their purpose, the person who feels unqualified for the call. Because how many of you all know, if you don't feel qualified, if you don't feel like you're good enough, you're not going to take the necessary steps that are going to lead to the results that you desire. And even if you take them, you're going to question your ability along the way, which is ultimately going to lead to inaction, no activity, and ultimately leading to no results and no impact in the places that you have been called to serve. Okay. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you all for your honesty. So, here are the 3 reasons that qualify you for your call. For those of you all, I'm just going to lay the foundation. I'm a believer, and a lot of the things that I say are based on my relationship with Jesus Christ. Okay. So, 3 reasons that qualify you for your call and for your purpose. Number 1, in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, God is literally having a conversation with Jeremiah. And for those of you all who are not familiar with Jeremiah, Jeremiah was at the time, and I had this realization. I didn't even realize this until a couple of months ago when I was reading the chapter, because I've heard people talk about the story of Jeremiah, and often people say that the scripture, quote the scripture, that before he formed me in my mother's womb, he knew me. But when I went back and looked at the scripture and studied it, I realized that Jeremiah was a boy at the time that God is literally having this conversation with Jeremiah. Jeremiah is a boy. And if you look at Jeremiah chapter 1, as God is telling Jeremiah who he is and what he has called for him to do, Jeremiah, because of the positioning of his thinking, he could not fathom that God created him to be a prophet. He couldn't fathom that God would use someone who was small in stature, small in age, right, to be able to speak what thus saith the Lord to people who were bigger than him, people who were older than him. I'm sure to people who he thought were wiser than him. If you all haven't, make sure you subscribe to my channel and share this link. I thought Jeremiah just identified as a dude, but was secretly okay. Ryan, I don't know nothing about that. I, I'm not going to even speak to that. Okay. I'm not going to even speak to that. Right. So in Jeremiah's mind, he didn't feel qualified. Right. He didn't feel like he was capable. He didn't feel like, thank you for apologizing. And if you want to further apologize, you can delete or remove that comment unless you want me to remove it. Right. He didn't, hey, good. It's good to see you. Always good to see you. Always, always, always good to see you, tea time. So, right. So Jeremiah didn't feel qualified for the call. So as God is telling him what this huge responsibility is, and as I'm sharing this story with you all, I want you all to think about what your calling is, what your purpose is, what God has called for you to do. And for Jeremiah, I'm sure if you all have felt like Jeremiah, you felt like the call was big. You felt like it was overwhelming. You're feeling like, who am I to be able to do this is that which you have called me to do. So I'm going to share with you all 3 reasons why you are qualified. Qualified, number 1. Thank you for removing that, Ryan. I appreciate you. Right? Qualified, number 1, and this is what qualifies you, number 1, is in Jeremiah, God is having a conversation with Jeremiah, right? And as he is talking to Jeremiah, Jeremiah is disqualifying himself. But the scripture tells us, and this is just the JMV version, that before I formed you in the womb of your mother's belly, he's talking to Jeremiah. He said, I knew you. So when you know somebody, you understand them, you get to know them, you know their likes and their dislikes, you know their ways and the ways that are not their ways, right? You know whether this is their true identity or not. You know whether they're faking it or whether they are being real, right? So this tells me that God knew and understood Jeremiah before Jeremiah was formed in the womb of his mother's belly. So God is telling Jeremiah, before you had eyes, ears, a nose, a mouth, I called you to be a prophet. Before you had an ability to think, before you had the ability to disqualify yourself, right? I called you to be a prophet. So as a believer, And I'm speaking to those of you all who are believers, okay? Because this is my experience. This is the only way I know how to say it, right? And communicate it. That what qualifies you is who qualified you. That's the first thing. And that was God. You were qualified before you even had the ability to disqualify yourself. He qualified you before he gave you eyes, ears, nose, a mouth, and all of the things. So even though you don't feel qualified, because here's the thing, when I read the scripture, one of the things that I'm learning to do is read with the spirit of understanding, right? So, and this is what he tells us to do. In all of your getting, make sure you get understanding, because I always say that when I understand something, I comprehend it. When I comprehend it, I'm able to make adjustments and move differently. So as an example, if I know, because I know eating too much salt can kill my heart, right? And raise my blood pressure. So understanding that, one of the things that I can do is change my habits. I can reduce eating foods that have high amounts of salt in them. So what does that do? That changes the results in my life. That could cause me to live longer, have longevity, and have a successful and healthy life, right? So when you understand and you know that God, before he formed you in the womb of your mother's belly, he qualified you, not a person, not even you qualified you. And this also lets me know that God prepared Jeremiah to do the things that he called for him to do. If you go down in the chapter, every excuse, every reason that Jeremiah did not feel qualified, God had to come back to give him a solution. And even when we think about Moses, Moses had every excuse in the book as to why he could not be the chosen one to lead the children from out of Egypt, from Pharaoh. So every time that he had a excuse, God then came and brought him a solution. So I want you to understand that before you were formed, you were qualified. Number two, what qualifies you? Your skills. I want you to think about the idea that he has given you, whether it's an application, whether it's a movie idea, whether it's a song, whether you are an accountant, whether you are called to trade stocks. I want you to think about the skill set that you already have to execute the idea that he has given you. A lot of the times people do not get started because they don't feel like they have all of the knowledge that is necessary to lead somebody else into a transformation. Because let's face it, as an entrepreneur, we are what I like to call solutionists. People pay us, regardless of your industry. People invest, people pay for a solution to their problem. So if you have a heart problem, who are you going to go to? You're going to go to a heart specialist, a cardiologist. Why? Because a cardiologist has developed the skill set. They've gone to school, they've done residencies, they've had mentorships. 9 times out of 10, they have written reports and so forth. And a lot of them have the experience to be able to diagnose whatever your heart issue is and then give you a treatment plan. In that same way, I want you to think about yourself in that same way. So let's just say that your idea is an app, right? Anybody in here from the tech world? Let's just say your idea is an app. Whatever your app is, oh gosh, hold on, y'all. Ryan, I tried. I really didn't, Ryan. Because I just don't have it in me, y'all. I just don't. Like, I love you too, Colin. I just don't. I just don't, right? So here's the thing we have to understand. I want you to think about, let's just say you are in the app world. Think about what your app is, right? And think about what solution you want to provide to the person who has the problem that you desire to solve. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, what current skill sets do I possess to be able to ensure that this application moves forward? Because a lot of the times people reduce the skill set that they already have. You may have gone to college, and even if you didn't graduate, let's say you took some classes but you did not complete, I'm sure there were some things that you learned along the way that may or may have not to be able to contribute to your next level. My day is phenomenal, Colin. It is absolutely phenomenal. So when it comes down to feeling qualified, what qualifies you? It's just like when you go to apply, and I want you to think of it similar in this way. When you go to apply for a job, they ask you about your skills, right? And I want you to think about the trainings, the certifications, the classes, and the courses that you have taken that are in alignment or that will contribute to whatever your purpose and your call is. And let me put a sidebar in this. A lot of the times people feel that, here, let me put it like this. You may not have all of the skills that are necessary to execute the very idea and purpose that God has given you, right? But one of the things that I have learned is that God will ensure, when you ensure, right? And you commit to learning the necessary skills that will help you to execute in your purpose. So, as an example, I love Esther. Esther in the Bible, right? Esther in the Bible was an orphan. Both Esther's parents died, and her cousin was left to raise her. Esther was an individual, a woman who cleaned houses. Who would have ever thought that someone who was an orphan and a maid would then be queen? She, I'm sure at the time, did not feel qualified to even be able to vie for the position of queen. But here's the thing, she surrendered to the call. And along the way, God prepared her for the place that He had for her. So here's my thing for you. You may not feel like you have all of the skill set, but if you know for certain that God has called you to this place of purpose, if you know that this is an app idea that you know that you need to execute, if you know that this is a book you need to write, if you know that this is a talk that you need to give, if you know that this is something that you need to do, here is the thing: surrender to the instruction. You may not have all of the answers, but if you yield and take the first step, God will order the next. If we look at in the book of Genesis, when God tells Abraham to leave what he knows is familiar. Oh, Lord, y'all are like, I'm trying not to report people. Like, I'm trying not to, y'all. I'm trying. I'm really trying. And Colin, you about to get blocked too. I'm trying. I'm really not, because I'm about to like just put y'all out of here. Put some of y'all out of here. Okay? Um, but that's the joy about going live. And on YouTube sometimes. It's about as bad as Periscope used to be, where people just come on here and troll. It's like, y'all don't have no life. Like, seriously, y'all don't have no life. But anyway, back to that. And this is just a lesson too. For those of you all who get distracted along the way, understand this: distractions will come. So in total transparency, I had to really get refocused today. I literally went into coaching myself today because I didn't have a session with my coach. So I literally had to use the skills that I've learned to coach myself on today. And a lot of times, if you excuse me, hold on, y'all. if you are not aware, you can get distracted by good night, Colin. Good night. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. Okay. All right. All right. Gosh, gotta love people. Okay. So if you're feeling unqualified, one, understand that if you are a blood-bought believer, that God, before he formed you in your mother's womb, that he knew you. And because he knew you, before you had the ability to disqualify yourself, he's already qualified you. Your goal is to yield into the very call that he's called you to. Number two, what makes you qualified for your call, for your purpose? Number two is your skill set. What do you bring to the table, to the industry that you are daring to go into? Ask yourself, what skills do I have? Right? What certifications do I have? A lot of times you have gone through trainings, and because you've done it, you throw it under the rug like it's not a big deal. All of that's a part of your preparation. What seminars have you attended or invested in? What conferences have you attended? Right? What all of these things contribute to your skill set to be able to apply and qualify you for the industry that you are pursuing. And this is to dispel any belief that you are not ready to move in the call. If you're hearing it, if you know you need to write the book, if you know you need to go back to school, if you know that you need to start the business in accounting, teaching people how to build wealth, in real estate, do it. And here's the thing. I always say progress over perfection. A lot of the times people are waiting to have everything so perfect before they make a move to starting their businesses and moving in their purpose. Let me tell y'all something. Some of your greatest experiences will come through errors. God forbid it leads to the death of someone or someone being hurt. But along the way, you're going to learn by experience, which brings me to the last point of what qualifies you. What experience do you have? This is where the application comes into play. This is the school even of the hard knocks, right? The life experiences that you learned along the way that have prepared you for the call. A lot of you all will, excuse me, because I have this candy in my mouth to help me to reduce coughing so much because I'm getting over a cold. Hold on, y'all. I had to put some people in timeout tonight, y'all, because people were just being nasty. That's just the word, being nasty. Coming on here, just being nasty. Right? But anyway, so here is this. When it comes down to entrepreneurship and business, understand this, that people invest and pay money for a solution to a problem that is desperate in their eyes. So when you think about your industry, and as you all, I want you all to type in the comment area or the chat, what is your industry? Is it personal development? Is it finance? Is it wellness and health? Is it business? Is it whatever it is? Put it in the chat, right? People will pay money for the problem that they have to be solved. How do I know? Think about the problems that you've had that you put money in those places to improve or make better. Okay? So when you think about what qualifies you, you ask yourself, for the industry that you are daring to move into, what experiences do I have that qualify me to be able to teach or lead someone into a transformation. So I'll use myself for evidence, right? As an example, I am a coach to women who are working in corporate America that desire to take their idea and implement it without excuses, right? And teach them how to build a business. So, what qualifies me? Okay. What qualifies me is I've started a business, I've built a business, I've helped other clients who have struggled in getting their businesses off of the ground to generate cash flow and profit, right? So, I have my own experiences and I have client evidence experiences that show that I am qualified to be able to lead my clients to their transformation. When we think about Jesus, and I want you all to think about this, right? People want to know, and I'm going to get to Jesus in a minute because I just think that the relationship to this topic is so essential. I said to you all that people will pay for a solution to their problem, right? So understand this, that in order for them to pay you to get their problem solved, they have to see the evidence and the proof that what you say you can do, you are able to do. Anybody on here ever watched infomercials, right? If you've ever stayed up late, you watch an infomercial. Right now, you can go on social media and it's an infomercial. And one of the main things that they do on infomercials, and if you notice it, I want y'all to pay attention to trends, is that people show their results. They show the results that they've gotten for the people who purchase whatever their product is. Let's say it's a weight loss product or exercise product, right? They will even pay for testimonials. They'll showcase their client list of people who have received and have gotten the results for the problem that they solve. Why? Because they understand for people, we have to see the evidence. So let's go back to Jesus. When I read about Jesus in the Bible, Jesus comes on the scene and immediately, thank you, Tea Time, you're in wellness and health, good to know. Immediately, Jesus knows who he is, right? And he knows what he's called to do. So one of the things that I noticed about the character of Jesus that we can apply to entrepreneurship is that Jesus went in, right? He solved a problem. And here's the thing. Here's the amazingness. He didn't have to pay people to testify of what Jesus did for them. He didn't have to ask these people to provide success stories. The successes were so astounding and evident, these people went back to tell other people, look at what this man did. And those people then came seeking Jesus. So when it comes down to your industry, and we'll take Tea Time Beauty as an example in wellness and health. So let's just say that her expertise is helping, I'm just throwing this out there, helping women over the age of 40, not saying that you do this, but helping women over the age of 40 lose pounds effortlessly, although they're going through transitions of life, right? So here's the thing. What will she do? She will execute in her ability to provide these women with the results of not only losing weight, but also boosting and gaining their confidence that they then will go and tell their friends, their family. They'll go on TikTok. If you all notice, because I'm not a huge fan of TikTok, but every time I go on TikTok, there's an influencer or somebody, it's like the first thing you see. You go on there and they're telling about how this product has worked for them. So what happens? Because I see it in people's posts all of the time. People then say TikTok shop or TikTok made me buy it. No, a person's experience told by them of the solution that this particular product solved for them then was exuded in their delivery, and then it encouraged the person who was watching it, who had the same issue, to say, you know what, I'm dealing with that same thing, maybe I should try this. So when you're thinking about whether you're qualified for the call, I want you to think about the experiences that you have given people that people hadn't even paid you for. How many people on here cook? And people have eaten your food, people have eaten your cakes, and they rave about the amazingness of it. They ain't paid you nothing, right? That is an experience. That is an application and evidence that what you do actually works and is, in this case, good. So anytime you are wondering whether you are good enough, anytime you are wondering whether you are qualified for the call, I want you to think about, before he formed you in your mother's womb, he knew you and he qualified you. I want you to think about every skill set, every school, every, every training, every certification, every seminar you sat through, every course that you've invested in. All of that has contributed to your ability to be able to lead your clients and customers to a solution. I want you to think about every experience that you've had, every experience that you led someone to. Every time you're wondering whether I'm good enough, whether I'm qualified, I want you to think about the results that you have gotten for other people, whether it's paid or unpaid. Hey, Camille, it's good to see you. Good to see you, Camille. So I want you to think about all of that, because what happens, and this is why this topic is near and dear to me, because one of the things that people have shared with me as to why they don't take their idea from mindset to movement, idea to implementation, is because they don't feel qualified. It's because they don't feel like they are able to do it. And here's the other thing, imposter syndrome. How many of you all have ever heard of imposter syndrome? Or you feel like an imposter of stepping into your industry because you don't feel like you have it all together. Or who am I to teach somebody else when I'm still struggling in this area of my life? Let me tell y'all a quick secret. You want to know the secret? You have accomplished something that other people are still struggling with. See, the trick of the enemy is to make us feel like we're all alone. But here's where you dispel the portions of imposter syndrome. There are people who are struggling with the very things that you've already overcome. Right? So here's the thing. Because you have overcome that thing, then all you have to do is teach them what you've already overcome. That's it. And here's the thing. I'm not sure what that means, but here's the thing, right? If you've already overcome it, then all you have to do is teach them the steps as to how you were able to make it through whatever it is that you made it through. If you've lost 30 pounds, you then teach people how you lost the 30 pounds. You're not looking for perfection. You are seeking progress. And one of the words that's comparable to progress is prosperity. One of the other synonyms, or meanings of prosperity is progress, advancement. I'm at this level right now, but next year I won't be here. I'll be at another level. I'm not at the same place today that I was a couple of years ago. So I progressed. When you think about your ascension, Think about where you used to be and where you are now. And hope, let me just share this. This is just not to insult people, but I just had to say this. I'll just table that for another day. I'll table that for another day. So, in wrapping this up, I want you all to understand this, that if you feel unqualified, always remember who qualified you, the skill set that you already have, and the experiences that you bring to the table for the solution that you provide for other people. So no longer do you question your abilities, even as you all are moving in your purpose, even as you all are moving in your industries and you're building your businesses. And let's just say you have a day where you're wondering, like, did I make the best decision? Am I really qualified to do this? Take yourself back and look at the long laundry list of experiences that qualify you. And even if you look at the experiences and the skill set and still feel disqualified, go back to reason number one. Excuse me. God called you. Before he formed you in the womb of your mother's belly, he knew you. Just like he told Jeremiah. And one thing that I know about God is that when I look at his track history, when I look at David, David was the youngest of all of Jesse's children. David was the smallest, and he was, quote, no, in the reading, to some, nothing but a shepherd boy. But God took what was small in stature and what was thought of as small in strength to defeat a giant called Goliath. He took someone who seemed very minimal, excuse me, to his siblings, and he prepared him to be king. When we look at brother Joseph, the coat of many colors, Joseph was the outcast from his brothers, from his siblings, and they threw him away. Who would have known that God would have used someone that other people viewed and deemed as being small to being the very individual whose gift would take him to the kingdom? When we look at Esther, all of these stories are people who people would deem as being small, but God gave them such a huge call. The good news is for you, where you feel disqualified, I want you to think about David. I want you to think about Moses. I want you to think about Esther. I want you to think about Jeremiah. I want you to think about all of these people who along the way may have been deemed disqualified or felt disqualified, and think about the place that God raised them to. All you have to do is surrender. He ain't looking for your perfection. He's looking for you to be willing. So I just wanted to encourage you all tonight, and more than anything, transform your way of thinking. If you're going to be in the arena of entrepreneurship, you got to have your mind set and positioned and placed in the right way. If it's placed in a place of low, you're going to have a challenge. And it's going to take your willingness to shift it. So I appreciate you all. If you haven't already, click the link below and get access to your free gift, my gift to you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you all. You all have a phenomenal evening. And remember to know your worth. Good night, y'all. Bye.